Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, puppies and kittens of all ages. Welcome to Mark and Rove. We need new friends. We've lost Mr. Fernandez. He will be back in just a moment. But we want to welcome you, of course, to the show and remind you that once again, just like all of the other shows, the Mark and Rove shows, we are dedicating this to our brave frontliners and also all of their support people, all the delivery drivers, the janitors, the guards, the armed forces, the police, everyone that is keeping us safe, and all of the people that are supporting the people that can't work right now and are having a hard time, all the people out there doing food donation drives and medical missions and all of that kind of stuff. You guys are absolute heroes.
Hey, sorry about that.
Not a problem.
How you doing, Mr. Nelson? Thank you for that wonderful intro. You always bring the energy. Sorry about that. I heard you just fine. Yeah, glitch in the matrix as usual. But hey, that's why we love living in this third world country, right?
Exactly. Well, speaking of our wonderful third world country and glitches, let's talk about some highs and lows. I can kick things off with some highs if you want.
Yeah, please. We got to get this going on the good foot. I'd love to hear some highs, sir.
Okay, well, we were speaking, of course, about our frontliners, and everyone, of course, is still very, very concerned about the coronavirus. But there are some countries that are slowly beginning to open up. They're opening up, beaches. They're opening up, to a limited extent, schools. I think there are 3 countries: Germany, New Zealand, and I think Vietnam are opening with certain restrictions. Australia, I know my family are there. The restrictions are easing a little bit there. People are allowed to go out and do more, of course, with correct social distancing. So that's good news. And I just found out there's actually a few countries around the world that don't have any cases of coronavirus whatsoever.
Right.
So we've got they're usually island nations like Kiribati, Marshall Islands, Nauru, Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, those kinds of places. But it's very nice to know that there are pockets of the planet that are still leading a normal life. Well, those are our highs. Do you have any lows that you'd like to contribute?
So you're putting that on me, huh? Be the bearer of bad news. Thanks a lot, Nelson.
Well, I'm the good guy. You're the bad guy. Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop. Calvo with hair. Got it. All right. Well, I would like to point, of course, the fact that this is the travel episode. Our disclaimer is, first and foremost, Mark Nelson and I and all members of this podcast that is represented, we do not encourage you to travel at this moment. These are things that we want to do eventually, okay? So we're very nostalgic on this episode. So we have a lot to talk about in the past and the present as well, some of the traveling that we've been doing recently. But with that being said, I just want to bring this up, and this is a low of the low, but these people do not get enough, credit is not the word, enough of the limelight, and it's so unfortunate, and I'm so glad that this was brought up to me. I was jogging around the neighborhood, and I ran into Javi, Tim Yap's husband, and I just said, "What's up, Javi? How you been?" And he had this very concerned look on his face, and he said, "Man, I've been trying to help repatriate," I forgot the exact number, but I think it was in the hundreds of Spanish tourists that were still stuck in Palawan, and they were just living in the Palawan airport. Yes. So he eventually figured that out, but that took another week after I saw him, because I was following up on it because it was such an intriguing and fascinating situation. So it's just unfortunate that we have these foreigners / tourists that come to our country and, they fall in love with the hospitality, they fall in love with the culture, the food, the islands, and then COVID happens. And unfortunately, they see the ugly side, you know what I'm saying? And we don't have the infrastructure of other countries to take care of tourists, much less our own people. So they're left to fend for themselves. And there are tourists from other countries, other nationalities who are still stuck in the Philippines, and they're trying to get repatriated flights out. And that's an unfortunate demographic that still exists, not just in the Philippines, but in countries, travel countries all over the world. I'm sure Thailand has their situation, Bali. Yeah, so that's a low. But I would like to, you know, how we always dedicate the show to our courageous frontliners, but I'd also like to
Yep.
dedicate this show to the tourists, our guests, who unfortunately are going through some hard times right now. You'll get out, you'll go back home with your family. Remember that, and hey, you got a nice tan out of it. I don't know if there's a silver lining. You got, I don't know. Oh man, but
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, well, those are definitely some lows, and it would suck to be any of those tourists. But I mean, this is, of course, the travel episode. So I mean,
Mhm.
those are some downsides of travel. And I know that the new normal at the moment, at least for traveling, is that the few places that are allowing people in or back in have to deal with much more stringent controls. I know here in the Philippines. You have to pay for 3,500 pesos to get yourself tested. Then you have to pay for a quarantine accommodation for 3 to 4 days until you get your results. And if you're
Mm.
negative, then you're allowed to go home, and you have to self quarantine there for another 14 days. But that's number one, expensive. In other places like Hong Kong, a journalist I know went back there and had to spend 7 hours just getting through the process of like getting tested, temperature tested, swab tested, quarantined and everything, and then download a contact tracing app, and then they check it, and then you have to like take note of the vehicle that brings you home, and then you have to
Mhm.
be self quarantined, and they check you on the app to make sure that you actually stay in one place for the next 14 days and everything. And sadly, up and for the time being, that's what travel is going to be like. However, um, we are looking forward to the future when things will be back to maybe not complete normal, but a level of normalcy where we are able to travel again. And one
Mhm.
of the great ways of looking forward to that, I think, is to look back on some of the great adventures that you have done, and then look at the sort of future adventures you want to go to. And
Mhm.
while we're researching for this particular episode, I was just writing down a list of places that you and I have been to. Now,
Mhm.
guys, Revilson and I have been friends since like the early 2000s. We got
Mhm.
became really good friends like around, I don't know, 2003 or something. But in that time, we have traveled to. Can you guess how many countries we've traveled to together, Ro?
That's a great question, bro. I don't even know. Okay, straight up. And I want to remind the audience as well. For the very first time, and it's indicative of our relationship, we met at an international airport for the first time. We met
Yes.
in the Vietnam airport, introduced by my girlfriend at the time. She knew Mark, and yeah, we were introduced. So yeah, it's just ironic that yeah, that introduction first time in a foreign airport, it would lead to
Yep.
us just traveling all over. I'm gonna go off. Shoot, countries or trips? What's the question?
Countries.
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 2020. No, 15. 15. I'm gonna say 15.
24. You and I.
24?
You and I have traveled to 24 different countries together, buddy.
No way.
Yes,
No way. Are you serious?
I
What?
am
I only
serious.
remember I only remember three. Oh
Yeah.
man. And I count Amazing Race as one of them.
Okay, amazing. Well, nine of them, not including the Philippines. But yeah,
Yeah.
we've been to. Okay, I'm
Go.
gonna
List
I'm
it.
gonna read them out because we have time.
Go.
Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Australia, Guam, India, Germany, Czech Republic, Hungary, Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, South Africa, US, Mexico, Zambia, Tanzania, Zanzibar, and the Philippines.
Woo! Wow, that's 24.
Yeah, that is
That's
24
insane.
countries, buddy.
That's
Yeah,
insane. That's
but
awesome.
which are some of your favorite adventures that we've had?
Oh, geez. Well, um, you know, I can't get over, of course, the more recent ones because They were so epic in scope was when we went motorcycle riding in the Himalayas. I mean, the fact that number one, I shouldn't even be on a motorcycle. You know, I'm the type of person that I'm clumsy. You know this. I'm the clumsiest person. Things happen to me, and the fact that we were riding in the Himalayas, this is one of those trips
There's
where you can die. You know what I mean? So I try not to go on trips that you can die. This one, you truly could have died in many epic fashion, in many epic ways. But yeah, riding in the highest roads in the world with huge military trucks counterflowing against you. You know, you're just a fly compared to them. And you know, if it one side it's hard granite, you know, you can get smashed against
Yep.
it. On the other side, it's thousands and thousands of feet, a drop that would, you know, splat you in a second. And that was an amazing trip, man. And I'm thank you for getting me on that trip. And in fact, you're actually wearing a T-shirt that represented our trip of that, right? Go ahead and show that.
Yes,
That's
that's
kind of
right.
cool that you brought it out.
Yep, that is absolutely right. World's highest motorable road. So yes, we went to Kartla, which is the highest road that you can pass in the world in the Himalayas at 18, almost 18,000 feet on motorcycles. It was cold, it was treacherous, and it was the experience of a lifetime. That, I mean, like for motorcycle riders, that's an absolute bucket list. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, we were very fortunate to do that. And then and last year we went back to India and did the Ride of the Royals through Rajasthan with all the palaces and the deserts and everything. So yeah, those have been extremely memorable trips. Another one for me, I think, well, relatively recently in the last couple of years was when we went to Komodo. I mean,
Yes.
as a kid growing up, you always hear about, you know, like you get fascinated by dragons, and then you hear that there is actually dragons. This is
Yes.
us with our crew. Um, uh, yeah, those are the Komodo Islands in Indonesia. And actually, I should have put up a photo. Sorry, I forgot to add a picture of the actual Komodo dragon. Actually, I think I posted one on my personal Instagram a week ago
Mm.
or something.
Mhm.
But those things are giant. They're the size of alligators or crocodiles, but they look like giant biawaks. They look like big monitor lizards. Um,
Yeah.
but it's always been my dream as a kid to go and see them. And then we got the
Hmm.
added bonus of swimming with manta rays, and it was awesome with some really good friends. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things that really makes travel to certain destinations that much more special when you go with a
Hmm.
cool group of people. Um,
Yes.
I know that you sometimes travel solo. I travel solo. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
just you and I, but other times we travel with a group of people, and
Hmm.
uh, it's always been very fortunate that there's been a good collection of people that aren't like too like highly stressed or anything. They're kind of like laid
Hmm.
back and like to go with the flow, which is much like you and I like to do.
Yes, yes. That's everything. Choosing the right person to travel with, you know. Yeah, it's great to have a huge barcada, you know, the more the merrier, as they say. But, you know, that's why we've gone to so many places, and we will continue to go to so many places because you get me, I get you. We're go with the flow. I mean, we want to check all the boxes. We want to see all the, you know, historical landmarks. We want the local experience. We want to meet people. We want to eat the local food. But we're also, you know, we'll leave a little bit of room in order to do something out of the ordinary, which we always love to do. So, you know, if you find like-minded people, like-minded souls, people who have that type of mentality when it comes to traveling, it just makes it a whole lot better. And because you could spend so much money, you invite somebody over, and it just could be an absolute nightmare. And sayang your trip, you know what I'm saying? And don't think
Yeah,
just because you
no.
travel with family, it's going to be okay. You know, I love my friend, I love my family so much, but you know, sometimes there are things you can get away with your friends and things you can't get away with your family. So, yeah, it's just a learning experience. Travel with as many people as possible. When you have that one or two or that nice group that you gel with, stick with them. You know what I'm saying? Stick with them. Yeah.
No,
And Mark,
absolutely. And I think, yeah, go.
I'm so sorry. I love the fact that you brought up Komodo. I'd like to add to your Komodo story. Now,
Yeah.
we always talk about wanting to do safaris, and when you think safari, it's always going to be Africa, right? Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, you have a real life safari adventure right in our own backyard if you live in Southeast Asia, and that's in Komodo. That's in Indonesia. You just fly there. It's a couple hours flight. It is a legit safari. You are walking in, Komodo Island amongst the Komodo dragons. You only have two guards with you, and you are in their territory. It's just like if you were to go to Africa. At any moment, something perilous can happen, and that's what makes it so exciting. And on top of that, we saw fruit bats, one of the largest bats in the world, over a fiery
Yeah.
sunset. Was that right? Fruit bats, flying foxes.
Yes. Yeah. Flying foxes. Yeah.
Yes, an
Yeah.
amazing.
Some of the largest bats in the world.
Right. So we got a chance at that spectacle, and of course, like you mentioned, the manta rays.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I couldn't agree with you more.
Mhm.
And actually, speaking of friends, guys, I think it's time for us to introduce one of our favorite segments here on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is We Need New Friends.
Woo!
All right.
You know what, Nelson? There is no better
All right.
person to co-host this episode, this travel episode with us. I mean, she has so many. She's a slasher. You know the term slasher?
Yeah, Slashy.
Yeah, she is a slasher. I'm gonna start off. She is a beauty queen, a Spartan trifecta finisher, entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a marathoner in Antarctica, by the way, an interior designer, bikini designer, travel show host, brand endorser, ambassador, of course, a mother, Miss World Philippines, and I hate to say this because I'm still super jealous. Amazing Race Asia Season 5 champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us in welcoming Miss Maggie Wilson.
Hi guys!
Did I get everything?
I think so, and then some.
What's up,
Oh, hey Mags, are you there? Wait,
Mags?
Ro,
Thank
can
you for
hear
joining
Mags?
I'm
us.
here.
Are you on an airplane right now or at the airport?
I'm here.
I can hear
Can you
Maggie.
hear me?
Oh,
Mhm.
Okay.
poop, I
Sorry.
can't. Okay, hang on. You guys chat for a while. I'll just fix this.
Okay. Hey, Ro.
What's up, Mags? What's up, Mags? Thank you again. Thank you for joining us on this travel episode. No one better than you to have us on here. But okay, so Mark and I together have traveled 24 countries. How many have you gone to?
I've traveled to 40 already. I think 41, but if I remember correctly, it's 40.
Wow. What was the last one? What was 40?
Oh my God, the last one was Egypt. So
Okay.
I was supposed to spend my 31st birthday there, and then of
Mm-hmm.
course coronavirus happened.
Mm-hmm.
We flew into Egypt and we were there for all of 2 nights. And then the
What?
Philippine government announced that we were going into lockdown, so we decided to cut our trip short and fly back to Manila after 2 nights in
Are you
Cairo.
it takes 2 nights just to get to Egypt, and then are you
And the greatest
serious?
thing is, I know Maggie, you were telling me when you got back about the experience you actually had in Egypt during those 2 days. It sounded biblical.
Yes, it was. We experienced in those 2 days that we were there, we experienced horrible flooding. They were saying that floods
Okay.
like that, the last time floods like that happened was in 94. Like there were no cars on the road. Flooding was horrible. We went to see the pyramids, but it was a rainy day. It was closed for tourists. But I did have an aunt who lives in Egypt, and she drove us all the way there, which was 2.5 hours from her house. And we were literally the only people in the park on the reserve where the pyramids were. But I mean, it was an interesting 2 days. And so I definitely need to go back because I feel like I missed out on Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
was the story of my last trip before going into lockdown.
Oh. Now,
Oh,
Mags, Mark and I, we just talked about finding the right travel people to go with, because that matters. You know this,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you find the right, if you go with somebody and there's a bad apple in the group, it ruins the whole trip. Who do you prefer? Do you prefer going out with traveling with your husband Vic because he's an adventurous guy, or do you like going with the homegirls? What do you prefer? And it's okay, Vic's not listening.
Or so we think. No,
Yeah, actually.
I guess
He's
it
always such a
depends.
lurker.
He
Yeah,
is. He is. I guess it depends on what kind of trip I want to take. You know,
Okay.
if I want to have a fun girly trip, then of course I'm going to go with the girls. If I want to have, if let's say it's a birthday trip, maybe we'll invite a couple of friends. If it's a trip that's strictly for Vic and I, then obviously it's just going to be Vic and I. If it's a family trip, then we bring Connor along and,
Hmm.
you know, my mom and my dad as well. So it really depends on where we're going,
Hmm.
what's happening. Like if it's a holiday, like if it's Christmas or it's New Year, we're always going to be with family. But if it's like an in-between trip in the year, then it's always going to be with Vic. If it's for a birthday, then chances are we're going to be with our friends.
Awesome. Awesome.
Very, very
Oh,
nice.
really quickly,
And
oh,
I was going to
Mark,
say
before your question.
the added bonus when you travel with Vic is you also have a professional photographer going with you to
Exactly.
take all
And
those
that's why my
amazing photos.
and that's why my Instagram photos are always so good. I've trained him well.
He is the best definition of hashtag Instagram husband. Seriously, like, I mean, he did many covers in Philippines publishing. So yeah, you're getting a fantastic photographer. Quickly, we just to remind everybody, we have a raffle that's ongoing. So if you comment, you have more chances of winning our awesome prize, which is fruits and veggies delivered straight to you. So just gonna leave that there. But Maggie, quickly also, we've known you a long time, and well, you're synonymous with luxury and living the finer things in life. But we have known you a long time, and you're one of the boys. We know this. You're one of the boys. You kick it with the best of them. We would love to hear your most luxurious vacation, and then we'd also love to hear your most ghetto vacation. That we'd
Okay.
just love to hear both sides of the coin.
Why do I think one of her most ghetto vacation will be one of the ones with us?
No,
and
naman.
and we
Although
consider
Mark
that
and
our
I
most
have had some
luxurious.
Yeah.
although Mark and I have had some pretty ghetto traveling
Yeah,
experience
we've
together.
done a couple of ghetto places for work.
We have.
Nice.
Okay, so I guess we'll start out with the bougiest one. I'd say definitely my 30th birthday last year. I
Hmm.
spent it in the Bahamas. 1 week in the Bahamas. It was a really expensive villa, but we went with friends and we split the cost because if it was just Vic and
Nice.
I, it would have been the price would have been astronomical. Yes, we can afford it, but I'm still sort of, you know, I'm the type of person that, you know, that thinks, oh my God, it's too expensive, even if we can't afford it. So we went with friends. It was 1 week, really, really swanky villa. It was a 4 bedroom
Details.
villa. Yeah, it was a four
Details,
bedroom
girl.
villa. It was beachfront. There were literally only 3 villas on the beachfront. So you could practically run around naked and no one will care. No one will see you. The
Hmm.
villa came with 2 butlers and we had a private chef who cooked us 3 course meals every day that we were there. It came
Wow.
with a captain, a boat, and a captain who basically drove us all over Staniel Key in the Bahamas to all the locations that we wanted to go to. And yeah, that for me was probably one of the more expensive trips, if not the most expensive trip, but totally worth it, by the way. And what I love about as well about the Bahamas is you can go there even on a backpacker budget,
Hmm.
or you can experience it in total luxury.
With a
All right. Of
Birkin
course,
backpack.
when you go on the backpacker budget, you're the one cleaning the toilets at that villa.
Hey, hang on a minute. You know our butlers, the 2 butlers, they were Filipinos.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome!
cool.
You find
Yeah,
Filipinos. You know what? That's one thing that
everywhere.
I've found when I travel all over the world,
Yes.
no matter which country you're in. 98% of those countries will have you'll meet a Filipino.
Yeah.
I think the only place I haven't met Filipinos are, I think, Cuba. Actually, no. I met a Filipino who was stopped there for a cruise or something. But yeah, just random like little countries like me. I don't think we met a Filipino in Zambia, but that's about it. Everywhere else you
Mm,
go, all
Right.
over Europe, all over Asia, South America,
mhm.
there's Filipinos everywhere.
So our two butlers,
Yes.
right? They were Filipino, and we were eating
Uh-huh.
really fancy French food and Italian food. And after 5 days, we were like, "Kuya, can you cook us some like garlic rice and fried egg?" And and they did. They were like, "Oh, we might get in trouble with the chef if we cook you breakfast." We're like, "No, no, no, it's okay. We want rice because we're Asians, and after a while, we need it."
Oh my God,
Yeah,
you
We
but
sound like my camera crew. Like whenever I would travel overseas with my old camera crews, we'd go and we'd stay, like these beautiful eat at these beautiful restaurants and everything. And the crew are all like, "We need rice. Just give us anything with rice." They would actually carry a bottle of toyo with them when we traveled, just so they could put toyo on rice, just in case
uh-huh.
that's like they didn't have anything there that they liked. It's
See,
it's a super Pinoy sort of thing. I mean, speaking of which, here's a message from Ikat. Maggie, what's something that you need to take with you on every trip? Is it toyo or is it something else?
a camera,
Aha!
okay.
a camera,
Okay. An
because like,
SLR, or you're okay
oh
with
no,
your camera phone?
no, 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 a proper SLR because I
Okay.
love to. I mean,
Yes.
yes, I take pictures and my Instagram feed is all me, but I do actually love to take photos of the places that
Mm-hmm.
I visit. I
Mm-hmm.
don't post them so much, but when I went to Africa, I took, I mean, to South Africa and Kenya, I took all these beautiful photos of the Maasai tribe and all, and, photos of the
Mm.
animals, and I would print those and hang them on our walls here at home. So definitely a
Awesome.
camera.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following Maggie Wilson already, follow her. Her pictures are so dope. I mean, I don't really get travel envy a lot because I travel myself, but damn you, Maggie, I get travel envy with yours. I hate you.
Yeah. So
Okay,
please
so
follow
wait,
her on @Wilson Maggie. You can see her handle there.
I haven't done the most ghetto travel
Oh
experience.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, we
yeah.
gotta hear it. We gotta hear it,
So,
girl.
well, it's not so ghetto because like, okay, so so I own a furniture store, a Casa Manila,
Hmm.
and when we
Hmm.
do sourcing trips, of course we use the company's money to do these trips. So we're not going to stay in expensive hotels. We're going to take economy, economy. We're going to book economy class tickets to get there. We're going to save as much as we can. So I wouldn't say it's ghetto because the place was still pretty beautiful
Mhm.
considering what we paid for it. So the cheapest hotel I've ever stayed in was a hotel in Bali. It was called Liberta, and the room was under 1,000 pesos a night. And it was great. Like it
Hmm.
was basic. It had air
Yeah.
conditioning, it had hot water, it had a comfy bed, and it, like I said, it was less than 1,000 pesos a night,
Wow.
and it had free breakfast too. So
What?
that was a steal. That was pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
That's
But
not
yeah, so
ghetto.
it's not. It's not. I guess. Let's
But
think
the
of
price
another.
point is ghetto. Well, the price
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
is
Well,
ghetto.
not
That's what you
ghetto,
mean.
but
Well, yeah.
affordable.
Yeah.
Very,
Right.
very
Yeah.
Right. Right.
affordable.
Right.
I
Right.
and I
Wow.
think this is a very important point to make, that there are a lot of places, especially, I mean, we're very fortunate we live here in Southeast Asia, that are not expensive to travel
Mm,
to, and are very
Hmm.
you can do it on a budget, but you can still stay in decent places. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be, ghetto. But even though you're paying ghetto prices, you still get a decent type of accommodation. You still get like good food. I know Revils and I have, like, we love going to Thailand and Vietnam and eating the street food there, which costs
Hmm.
absolute peanuts, but is fantastic. And accommodation in a lot of these other countries are really reasonable as well. I mean, 1,000 pesos, you get like a decent sort of, what, a 3-star accommodation?
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 What What are your non-negotiables, Maggie, when you travel though?
Okay. So
I'm gonna
for booking a hotel
guess.
room,
Yeah. Yeah. What are your non-negotiables?
okay,
Warm water.
non-negotiables: hot
Okay.
water,
Hot water.
Air conditioning if it's a hot country. I don't mind it.
Okay.
Mind it if I'm in a cold country.
Mhm.
And a comfy bed. That's really all I need. If
Yeah.
there's no internet, that's fine. I just need to know beforehand that there's not going to
Mhm.
be any internet so I can plan my,
Right.
my work schedule around it. But other
Or
than
get a
that,
SIM card or something.
yes, like
Yeah.
places like Cuba, the Bahamas. Like when
Mhm.
I went to Cuba, there is absolutely no signal for Philippine numbers. Internet was
Mm.
almost non-existent.
Mm.
Third thing was we didn't know we couldn't pay with credit card. Everything had to be in cash. Mark, this is your fault. You failed to inform Vic and I that you can only pay in cash. So we ran out of cash on like the last 2 days that we
I'm
were
sorry.
there.
I do remember you asking me for like tips and everything on Cuba, and it completely spaced my mind because when I go to places like that, I always make sure that I carry a wad of dollars
Uh-huh.
just in case.
Mm.
And I guess that's what I'd used when I was there, and I didn't even think about it. And obviously, like I'm going there on a slightly different level budget than you are, so. So what you would have spent in a day or two would have lasted me like the entire week.
To be
Oh, I
fair,
love it.
if you eat in one of the fancy Cuban restaurants, it's like $30 a head. And then of course we were paying for
That's
like,
reason-
taxi rides and stuff like that. In Cuba, that's expensive, $30 a head to have a good meal because the cost of living over there, I mean, the average income of a Cuban is basically that for the entire month. And so
Fascinating.
I remember we only brought $300, which technically should have been enough, right? But 3 days in, we ran out of cash. And let me tell you, if it weren't for the owner of the little bed and breakfast that we were staying in, we wouldn't have been able to afford to eat, or get to point A to point B.
The little bed and breakfast place called the Four Seasons, Cuba.
There's no Four Seasons. Like, hey, we stayed in a renovated home, which only had 4 bedrooms. It was a beautiful little place.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like,
yeah.
When
Boutique.
I travel, yes, boutique. When I travel, I really avoid staying in chain hotels or big name hotels. I'll always opt to go for boutique hotels, just because I feel
Yes.
it's a little bit more. They're a little bit more personal.
Mm-hmm.
With like, I hate having to walk a marathon to get to the breakfast buffet in a big hotel. So I'll always opt for the smaller hotels.
Yes. And joining, I mean, dozens and dozens of guests, that
Yeah.
also kind of sets your
like a
day off
turn
on the
off for
wrong
me.
foot.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Well,
that's awesome.
Cuba is one of those destinations that's on everyone's bucket list, and I wanted to ask you. I mean, that's obviously a bucket list that you've been to. What are some of your other bucket lists? Actually, I'm going to ask Ro the same thing. Let's think of our 3 top bucket lists of where we would want to go once quarantine is lifted. What's your third?
Well,
Max? Ladies first.
My first or my third?
Ladies first, yes.
Your third.
Your
My
third, yes.
Okay. My third would be Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Really random. Yes, really random. I know, but I've basically been to all the countries already that that it's really easy to get a visa to. So, but Bolivia is third on my list. Oh wow! Oh, Mark, I visited Antarctica already.
I know.
Yeah. You are a badass, Maggie. What do you mean visited Antarctica? You ran a 42-kilometer marathon in Antarctica. Show off. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no,
Maggie, for those of you that don't know, Maggie was the first Filipina ever to run a marathon in Antarctica in the South Pole.
Right.
So,
and her husband Vic was. Well, I assume Vic was the first Filipino male.
Actually, no.
As well?
No.
he
Or
not.
was he not? No.
No, he was not.
No, what?
He,
That's insane.
yeah, he is the first Filipino though to run a marathon on the North
In
Pole
yeah,
Okay.
and on
Okay.
all 7 continents, including the North Pole.
That is right.
including the South Pole. Oh yeah, so it's
Yeah,
7 continents, which includes Antarctica plus the North Pole.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And he's
that's right.
currently training for the moon.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, let's put up the graphic again. So Maggie's was Bolivia.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. Mark, Antarctica.
Yeah,
Why
that's
Antarctica, Mark?
one.
Because do
Well,
you want to run a
Antarctica.
42K there too?
Actually, if I'm going to run a 42, if I ever run a 42K, that will probably have to be the place to do it. No, it's the only continent in the world that I haven't visited yet. So
Okay.
there are 7 continents, and I've been to 6. That's the only one I have left. And of course, I think
Nice.
it'd be awesome to go to the coldest place on the planet.
Yeah, mine
Yours
was
is running the bulls.
Pamplona, Spain. They have this yearly, festival, and it's Running of the Bulls in Pamplona, Spain. I did it already in '08, but unfortunately, here's
Show
the
off.
story. Well, no, here's the story. I have told people that I have ran the Running of the Bulls, but I'm gonna come clean. So the story is, I was in the corral. I was all ready to run. There's signs everywhere that say, "Do not use your phone. No cameras allowed. If you use your camera, you will be kicked out." So I'm like, whatever. I'm in the middle. There's throngs and thousands of people. Whatever. No one's gonna catch me. So I hear the horn. They blast it. You can literally feel the rumblings of the on the ground of the bulls charging. Of course, the people are running forward. You're starting slow. You're like, what's going on? It's chaos. And then naturally, well, in '08, I was a millennial. So I took out my phone and I just started filming what's going on. And it was insane. And then all of a sudden, this hand the size of Thanos comes out of nowhere, grabs my shoulder, and I swear to God, I couldn't get out. He had his hooks in me. I get dragged out. I get pushed out. I'm like, what's going on? And before I know it, I'm outside of the barrier. It's a Spanish policeman, and he's like, no camera phones. You saw in Spanish,
Wow.
of course, no phones. And within seconds, my Pamplona Running the Bulls dream was ruined because I didn't follow the rules. So yes, that's my number 3. I want to do over. All right, we're off to number 2. Maggie, what's your number 2 bucket
Next,
list?
what's your number 2?
Mine's a do-over, and it's
Okay.
Egypt because I didn't get to because I didn't get to explore it right the first time. So I definitely want to go back. I had all these plans of places that I wanted to, to visit and, things I wanted to do, and I didn't get to do it the last time. So I definitely need to go back.
Did you mention
Yeah.
your number 2 bucket list?
Oh, no. My number 2, speaking of incredible, and this actually ties in very well with the T-shirt you're wearing, Wilson, is visit Bhutan. Because in Bhutan, you're kind of forced to be a responsible traveler. Bhutan is, love that shirt. Bhutan is one of the few, if possibly the only country in the world that is not just carbon neutral, it is carbon negative. So it acts as a sinkhole, a carbon sinkhole. It has so much forestry around that's protected that it actually absorbs a lot of the carbon from neighboring countries. They only allow a certain amount of visitors each year. There's only one tribe in the entire country. They really respect nature, and they measure their wealth not by GDP, but by gross domestic happiness.
So my second is a do-over again. It's it's the New York Marathon. Now, I've done
And how many
many.
flights does it take to get to New York?
This one, well, I was coming from.
Just kidding.
Well, yeah,
2,
this one's a direct
actually.
flight to here. Well, there is a Manila, New York
Manila, New
direct
York
flight
flight.
via
Oh,
PAL
is there
now.
already?
Yes, there
I
is.
always thought it
You're
did
on
a
your.
stopover in Canada.
Vancouver it used to be, but there is a direct flight now because they have bigger
Oh.
long haul planes. Yeah. You're on your butt for a while, but it's worth it. It's worth it. I'm a West Coast guy, but I have succumbed to the fact that New York is probably the best city in the world. I haven't been to all, but right now New York is the best city in the world. I've done many sporting events in my life, you know this, and running the New York City Marathon is just one of the, I did it for the first time in 2018, and it was Mardi Gras mixed in with a concert, mixed in with a running event. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a 42-kilometer street party, and it is the one time New Yorkers who are inherently grumpy, they are actually welcoming, and they're giving you high fives, and they love you, they're embracing you. It is the one time the city is just really backing the New York Marathon. So I would love to do it again with friends. All right, Maggie,
Okay.
and your number one bucket list, what do you want to do?
Well, I want to visit. This was a trip that Mark and I were supposed to go on together with other friends.
This month.
And and it obviously got canceled because, again, of the coronavirus. Postponed. I think we're going to do it next year, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yes.
the trip that we were supposed to go on was to Sri Lanka to swim with whales, to free dive with whales.
Wow.
Yes. So as you can see here, we both have our top number one bucket list.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Okay, I want to change mine to yours too. I'm Gaia. Why do you want to do that, Maggie? I mean, for the obvious reasons, but why is that your bucket list? You've done so many amazing things. Why do you want to do that?
How many people get to say that they have free dived with whales? Like, I've scuba dived with tiger sharks, I've free dived with normal, reef sharks. And I guess, the bigger the better. So what's next after sharks? It's whales. And so, I mean, just seeing animals in their natural element is so majestic. It gives me a different kind of adrenaline, a different kind of natural high to life. You only live once. So if you can experience all these things, if you have the means to do so, invest in experience and not in things. So Sri Lanka is definitely a story that I'll be able to tell, my friends, my Connor, maybe even my grandkids in the future. At one point in grandma's life, she swam with whales. And how cool is that to be able to say that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Yes. What are the whales? What's the species of whale, Mark?
They're blue whales, which is the largest animal that has ever lived.
Yes.
Like
they're
bigger
blue
than
whales?
Blue whales.
No way. Yeah, they're the biggest animals in the world. Insane.
Yeah, blue whales and sperm whales. So there's two types of whales that we'd be trying to swim with.
Wow.
And they both migrate through the waters of Sri Lanka around this time of the year. And it was a freediving friend of ours, actually, Martin Zapanta, who is our number one nationally ranked freediving champion, who's organizing this trip and invited us along. And I tell you what, it would be, Wilson, you would appreciate. I mean, if I were to ask you what is what is your number one adventure in the Philippines, what would you say?
Hands down, it would be swimming with whale sharks in Del Sol Sorsogon, which I recommend to everybody. Yes.
I would agree.
This would be
100%.
times 3.
Yes.
Right? The scope would be.
Yeah, the feeling you get when you're in the water with a majestic creature like that, it's not a scary thing, but it is life-altering. It really gives you that sort of connection with nature, knowing that there's an enormous creature here. You are in its world, but it is treating you with respect, so that it really brings home that feeling that you need to treat it and its home with respect as well.
Yeah,
well said.
I just want to add, when traveling, I think it's always good to invest in experiences and visit places where you feel small. When we're living in the city, going through our daily lives, we feel like the world revolves around us. So when I travel, I really love to go to places, experience things that gives me that sort of feeling that I don't really matter in this context. I am just simply here to enjoy, experience the place, right? And then, take memories with me and then leave, right? So when
Mm,
traveling, I hate visiting cities. I love doing things that most people will be too scared to do. But I think it's something that awakens something inside of you, and makes you really appreciate that you only live once. And if you can, right, try your damn hardest to experience as much as you can and see as much as you can.
well said. Well said.
I
Um,
agree 100%.
I should have went first because my number one pales in comparison to yours. I just want to ride a motorcycle through North America. Boo hoo.
Hey, that's a
But
killer
that
experience.
you, we'd start off in Mexico, and then work our way through the United States, which has a wonderful, freeway system, and then of course make our way to picturesque Canada. Yeah, I mean it's
How
a
long would
fantastic
that take
experience.
to do?
Uh, I don't know, but if I were to do it with friends, I would take my time. I
Yeah.
would plot it out to where I'd visit
Mhm.
cities. Maybe I'd start in Cancun, down south, and then just work my way up to Gulf of Mexico, of course, and then visit, picturesque cities in Mexico, and then in North America, I'd plot it. Probably go through the Midwest. Because that's
Mhm.
a place I haven't experienced that much, and then eventually just I guess final destination would be maybe Vancouver. I love
Yeah.
Vancouver. It's a wonderful place, or Toronto, one or the other. And you get three completely unique countries: Mexico,
Yes.
United States, and Canada. And you get to ride with your buddies. When you're riding a motorcycle, it's just grassroots. Everything is grassroots. You're on the level with everybody. You're stopping. You're chattier. You're talking to people. It's grimier. It's grittier. Yeah, I just loved it, and Mark got me introduced to it. Riding with Vic also in the Himalayas, and of course in India, in Rajasthan. Yeah, so now it's just time to try another continent. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, Maggie, we really love and appreciate. We can go hours and hours and talk about Amazing Race, which we didn't even touch. We'll get that. We'll get to that in a while. But would you maybe some parting words to fellow travelers out there? And if you want to do a shout out or anything, I know you have a new furniture concept that you're also launching. Go ahead and close this off, Maggie.
Well, yeah, no, thank you guys so much for having us. Like I've said, I've always been a firm believer in investing in experiences, and travel comes along with that. You only live once. If you're able, see as much as you can. Honestly, you can't bring your things, your designer bags and shoes with you to the grave, but you can always bring your memories that you've collected through your travels with you as you age. And so, I mean, I would love for people to travel more, explore the Philippines more as well, because the Philippines is so beautiful. I'm still a tourist in my own country. I haven't visited enough places yet, but I'm gonna get to it eventually. And yeah, so thank you so much for having us. If you want to follow my furniture and decor store, it's Acasa Manila at Acasa Manila, and that's it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Maggie.
much for joining us, Mags, and we look forward to having you back here on the show because yeah, we've got some ideas that you would be perfect for.
Oh dear. Okay.
All
Thank you,
right, bye,
Maggie.
Mag. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Travel safe.
Bye. Thank you.
I love
That
the
was
way we
awesome.
say it, like bye, travel safe, but she lives like a block away from each of us.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, she's right here actually. She was recording for my second bedroom actually. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
But now it is time to go to our poll. Do you remember what our poll was? Our poll was, if you were to choose an amazing race detour, which would you pick? Ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, let's roll the poll VTR. Alrighty. So the poll was, if you were to choose an amazing race detour, which would you pick? Bungee jumping or swimming with sharks. Dun, dun, dun.
Bungee jumping wins by a landslide, actually. 73%.
73%. Now, please
Wow.
note that you see that skydiving was crossed out. There was a small technical mishap. We meant to say bungee jumping in the poll. The video you see is actually of Wilson bungee jumping in New Zealand for the Amazing Race. Actually, can we see that video?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Look at that swan dive.
This is insane! Oh, yeah!
I appreciate that. You gave me the tip because I said, what do I do? And I'm glad you told me to just dive off and do a swan dive, because you don't want, most people, and I've witnessed this, they'll just kind of crumble off the ledge, and it's not majestic. You know, if you're gonna die, go out a winner. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for that tip. Yeah.
Now, speaking of the Amazing Race, there's something, I mean, a lot of people know that we did the race together. And a lot of people have seen the Amazing Race Season 2 from way back when. But there is one thing that no one outside of the Amazing Race production crew has ever seen. It's never seen the light of day. And that is our audition video.
Our motto into going into Amazing Race was, you have to concentrate on the audition, because the audition is where you're going up against thousands and thousands of people. You need that to be amazing, because the easiest part is doing the race itself. Once you're in, we consider that the easiest part of the Amazing Race. So we really concentrated on the audition video. So Mark and I, we went above and beyond. We used our production know-how, our experience in TV. We used our contacts.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, here is the Mark and Wilson Amazing Race Asia audition video.
Hi, I'm a PC. Now, one of the most important factors in joining the Amazing Race Asia is, of course, selecting the right partner. Now, example number one, why on God's green earth would anyone, me especially, choose Mark Nelson here to be their partner? Wouldn't work for me.
Did I hear my name? Hi, I'm a Mac, with an R. That is, Mark. And you know what? I love a challenge as much as the next guy. But why on earth would I want to pick someone like Wilson Fernandez? I mean, I've seen him host his sports show, and frankly, it's not a pretty sight.
I've seen you host your sports show, and your female counterpart, Diane, she's doing all the dirty work, my friend.
Oh.
Well, if you read the instructions, we're only allowed one backpack. Now, all your hair products, they're gonna weigh us down.
Oh, am I hearing a little bit of hair envy there, Baldy? However, your lack of being able to memorize a script, read a map, basically you could navigate your way out of a wet paper bag.
Hey, keep the blows above the belt, Chief. Now, why would I want to team up with someone who hosts beauty pageants for a living? Hey, you know what? Here's a little tip, buddy. No tiaras are allowed on this show, okay, princess?
Hey, wait, why am I taking this from you? I mean, you're a magazine editor. How is that possibly going to help us?
Don't knock the publication or the magazine life. I'd rather be editing a magazine than being on one, you little model.
Oh yeah, tough guy? Well, how many races have you actually won?
I won the one that mattered.
Years in a row in Manila.
Next question, extra tire boy. Hey, oh, I'm sorry. Should I be calling you Burrito Boy?
Pretty boy.
You big fat oaf.
Whatever.
Baldy.
Pansy. All right, listen. I gotta make a decision. We gotta try this out. I think we should actually team up for the Amazing Race Asia.
This could actually have some merit. Even if I have to lug your lazy fat ass all over the TV, people will at least get to see who really is the best TV host. Yeah, you got a deal.
All right. Before I shake hands on it, you can't bring your stunt double along. Deal?
As long as you don't bring that extra tire you're carrying around, you got a deal. Oh, God, I hate it when he does. Well, Amazing Race Asia, there you have it.
We promise to give you the most animated, the most exciting, the most lovable, huggable, most fun team you've ever seen on Amazing Race Asia.
Why do you want us? Because we are fit, we are fearless, and best of all, we are the most competitive when we're giving each other a hard time.
That is right. Well said, Marky Mark.
From Manila, this is Team Mark and Revilson.
Sorry, he just learned English. From Manila, wishing you good luck. Team Revilson and Team Mark.
That's Team Mark and Revilson.
Team Revilson and Team Mark.
Team Mark and Revilson.
Team Mark, right? It's Revilson and Mark.
It's Mark and Revilson.
Maganda. These two, Mark Nelson and Wilson Fernandez, are oozing with charm and charisma. I'm Alan Wu, and I look forward to seeing you all in 8 weeks' time for the Amazing Race Home Quarantine Edition. Hope you're all doing well, and see you then. Stay safe.
Alan!
Hey, we got Alan!
Wow, Mark, I'll tell you this, buddy. If you were to do that video now, you would get in trouble for fat shaming me. How dare you?
And you kept making fun of my hair.
There's no hair shaming going on now, but screw you with the fat shaming, buddy.
Oh, geez.
Oh, that was
but
a
yeah,
good...
guys, just to let you know, we are planning to do a couple of special Amazing Race Asia themed episodes. Please let us know if you're excited about that. And please go on YouTube and start watching because we will be giving you behind the scenes sort of stuff. We will be guesting some of our Amazing Race friends like Alan Wu and maybe some of the other competitors that have joined our season and other seasons.
Maggie
but
Wilson.
If you're interested in our season in particular, we know that at least the first half of the first 6 episodes are up on YouTube. Just search The Amazing Race Asia Season 2, and you will be able to find them there.
But again, Nelson, this is, of course, the travel episode. COVID, of course, 19 happened. There is no traveling for a while. It's no secret that Mark and I love the Philippines. Some of our best travels have happened in the Philippines. So we encourage you. Let's invigorate the economy. Let's start traveling in the Philippines when it starts happening, because you can't go on planes anyway. Borders might be closed. And stay here. You know, you get more bang for the buck here in the Philippines. There's so many other great places, so many great islands, so many other things to see here. So we encourage you to stay in the Philippines and travel. All right. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Oh, wait, one more thing quickly. Again, in next 8 weeks, Amazing Race Asia is going to be the focus. So try to log on to YouTube. We have the episodes there. I mean, the episodes are already uploaded, so catch it. Watch it, and we can't wait to interact with you. We have, the BTS that we're looking forward to doing with you guys, and we got a big surprise after 8 weeks, and of course, the great Alan Wu is involved. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope you had a good time as much as we had a good time hanging out with you, and we of course know the Mark and Rove podcast, because why, Mr. Nelson?
We need new friends. Good night, guys.
See you next week, guys.